Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Jessica Serrano. Welcome to all of you parents. We're reporting live from Florida. And even though I know we're having a lot of different experiences right now, one thing we all have in common is that our kids are currently at home learning. If you're anything like our family, this is going on week 6 for us. So I'm excited to talk to you today, not just from the perspective of a teacher, educator, and co-founder of a school, but just from the perspective of being a mom at home with 4 kiddos today and this week. So it's great to talk with you guys. Now, as I mentioned before, we might all have some very different experiences when it comes to this learning at home. So let's start with that. Just take a minute to think, what am I feeling right now? If I had to define this whole thing in one word, what would that be for you? And I know that's different on a day-to-day basis. I mean, for me, this is what my house is looking like these days. Sometimes it's that Instagram worthy post of the child sitting at the table quietly working. Or, yes, this is also what's happening in our homes. That's my laundry. Yeah, 4 kids, lots of laundry. There's my little one who is conveniently taking a quiet nap while I was teaching at home, and she gave herself an art lesson. So we now have permanent marker all over our wall. Lots of fun. So I know we're all experiencing a lot of different feelings when it comes to at-home learning. Now, I have seen a variety of ways that parents are engaged in this remote learning. I know for some kids or for some schools, they might be doing 6 hours of work a day. For other schools, they're only asking for 2 hours a week. So there's just a range of what schooling is looking like. For a lot of you, it might mean that your child is required to sit in front of a computer for a certain amount of time. For others, like those that go to Ignite Academy, we are doing learning bags, so kids actually have hands-on activities that they're working on. So again, I know we're all experiencing a range of emotions, a range of schooling formats, and I really wanted to just give you some tips and just some ways that no matter what this looks like for you, that we can just enter in a really strong way as a parent and really keep our priorities in line so that we're not losing our mind through this time. A little bit about my background. That's my cute little family there. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 12, so she's in 6th grade currently. My youngest is, there she is, she's going to be 2 in May. I also have an 8-year-old, Aria, and a 5-year-old, Atlas. So this was his first year in kindergarten. There's my husband, Dr. Serrano. He's a chiropractor, wellness doctor. So he's seen a significant decrease in his workload as well. So we're seeing each other more at home. Both of us, however, are still working 2 to 3 to 4 days a week. So yeah, it's a juggling act like a lot of you guys, I think, are experiencing as well. So one thing that I really wanted to start with is I feel like there was a question that we didn't stop to ask ourselves. All of this happened so quickly. We jumped right into remote learning. And I really wanted to take a minute just to evaluate, what is it that you want as a parent? On the other side of this, in 2, 3, 5 years, when we're looking back at this pandemic and this remote learning experience, what do we want for our family on the other side of that? Really have this be a gut instinct for you. Maybe grab a sticky note real quick and just jot down maybe 3 words that represent what you want on the other side of this. If you're here with us live, go ahead and comment below. What are those things that you want for your family? If I was writing these down, I know one of mine would be security. Right now, I want my family and my kids to feel secure. I want them to feel loved in this home environment. And that's really important for us. They're seeing mommy and daddy a lot more often. They're seeing our interactions. We want this place, this home, to be a refuge for them right now. We want it to be a place full of faith. And that security, we're hoping, lasts a lifetime, that they look back at this experience and say, wow, I felt safe the whole time. I felt secure. My parents were very open. We had lots of really healthy conversations. So make that list real quick. And what I think a lot of you are going to notice is that having your child complete every assignment and maybe all A's on the report card is not necessarily on the top of your list right now. Maybe for a lot of you, something like, I want my child to continue to grow in their education, that's a really healthy way of thinking about this. Yes, we want our kids to continue to grow. I mean, I know at our school we've seen so much success. It would be so terrible to see these kids fall back over the next 3 months. But really think about it, because we have a lot of stress. If you're anything like me, I'm a checklist person. I'm a perfectionist, and a lot of times I'll get caught up in the schoolwork or what is the expectation, and you feel go 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 go, and I don't stop to say there's more going on during this time than just having to get home done a bunch of assignments at home. We want our kids to be healthy, safe, secure, and that's going to take up some of the time in our day and maybe over or supersede some of those academics at this time. So take a minute, think about that. The next step, once you have an idea of your values as a family, what do you want out of this time, is to really communicate that and communicate it well. This seems ridiculous because families are all at home together right now. It's like, of course we're talking, but are you? Are we taking time to communicate about this time? Are we having conversations with our kids? Are we having conversations with our husbands or our spouses? So make sure you're getting on the same page as far as these goals and struggles. Take that sticky note you just had with those 3 words, sit down with your husband and say, hey, this is what I want out of this time at home. I know something my husband and I do because our schedules are still pretty crazy. On Sunday nights, we have a little Sunday huddle where we sit on the couch or in our office and we say, hey, what's going on this week? What do you need my help with? What are you struggling with? How can we get through this together? And that 5-minute conversation before we get to watch our Netflix show has made a world of difference because we both know what our expectations are for our family. Another thing I recommend that you do is make sure you're communicating with your kids. This can be a really difficult time. And I know a lot of our students, even, they might be feeling an extra sense of anxiety. Maybe your child has started wetting the bed again. Maybe there's some fear. It's really important. They're going to manifest their feelings in different ways if they are not verbalizing their emotions. So give your family space where you're sitting down with your kids, let them ask questions, let them walk through the stories what stories are telling themselves in their heads. Great way, again, is to have a family meeting. Once a week on a Tuesday night, my kids, we gather upstairs around the couch and we go through and we talk about, hey, what was a really cool thing that happened this week? What was something we're struggling with? And what is one goal for each of our kids, something we want to improve for the next week? Again, these aren't really heavy conversations, but you're going to see a world of difference. Okay, so we've identified our values, what we want out of this experience. We've also communicated as a family. So as a teacher, as an educator, I want to bring just some thoughts into how do we translate our learning experience to a home environment. And one thing I love is I love designing classroom space. I love thinking about how to arrange things. I come from kind of a crazy background. I taught public school for 8 years. I've taught at a private Christian school. I've done some homeschooling. And I've seen how important it is, the space in which you're learning. So this is actually a picture of our first and second grade classroom there. And a couple of things I wanted to point out. There's lots of light in our classrooms. You'll notice we use flexible seating because posture and what your kids are sitting on is pretty important. So you'll see like some seat cushions, you'll see wobble chairs, you'll see regular chairs. In that back corner, you'll kind of see some white draping. In each of our classrooms, we have a reading nook. So in this one, we have that white kind of bug net looking thing. You can't see it, but there's a couch back there, some books, some magazines. In our kindergarten classroom, we have a legit tent in the corner of the classroom, just a safe space to read, to curl up with a really good book. We have literature everywhere. We have work that's posted on the walls, things that they can be proud of. Now, how does this translate into your home environment? Well, there's a couple suggestions that I have. Here you'll see a couple spaces that we've set out, a couple pictures. But the first thing I want you guys to consider is satisfying the senses for your child. So what does this mean? What do they see? The first thing I do when we get up in the morning is I open our curtains. Sometimes it feels like we're living in a dark cave. I don't know what day it is, but just opening, adding that light is a great thing to think about. Also, the smells. It is awesome. We put on our diffuser all the time at our house, put some calming scents in there, and that lavender maybe at night when they're relaxing or when they're reading, that makes a world of difference as well. Also with the senses, Trying to think. Oh, music. Music is a great one. A lot of YouTube videos, they have classical music that you can put on that will last a couple hours. Just again, you want your place, your home to be a refuge to really have that sense of calm. So thinking about their senses is a great way to do that. The second thing I have on here is considering movement and posture. I know if you guys are sitting down at work in front of a computer, you would go crazy if you were sitting at a desk for 7 hours, 3 hours. I mean, for these kids, it's like 10 minutes. So, really encourage movement with your child. We have, oh, thank goodness, best Christmas gift ever. You'll see on our porch, we have a little trampoline there. It is such a great thing to have a trampoline, to maybe have some yoga balls or yoga mat or just things out in your house that allow for movement. So if you need to take a quick break, you say, hey, get up, do 10 jumping jacks, or hey, why don't you bounce on your ball or bounce on the trampoline for a quick minute. Allowing your kids to move is going to really increase their attention span. Also, posture. My husband is a chiropractor, so I just live and breathe this stuff. But making sure that your children have the correct posture, not something we think about. If your child is on a phone or a screen, often they are looking down like this, and you're actually going to see some effects in their neck and in their spine if they continuously have that kind of posture. So if they are looking at a book or a screen, make sure that it's at eye level. I know right now on my laptop, I'm actually propping it up on a book that's about this thick. So making sure that they have that correct posture in their spine. Wobble seats are great for this. I know on Amazon, you can buy those little wobble chairs. Just make sure you're thinking about those things. This is one of my favorites. That third thing that I have listed is to designate space. Name it and claim it. So if you have a special spot in your house for reading, this is going to be really special for your child. So say, okay, let's walk around our house. Let's find your reading nook. Maybe it's going to be their bed, a comfortable couch, a chair. Here you'll see my little one curled up on the chair. She puts her bunnies, her pillows. She knows that it is time for reading. For some kids, I know they've been making forts or tents where those are their new reading nooks. Maybe it's outside on your back porch. Another great thing to consider is maybe having a special table or desk space where they're keeping the materials, maybe even posting some of their work on a wall, and it's just their special learning or table space. The next one I have up there, and this is really important at this time, it actually comes from a discipline workshop that I teach. But when you are in the house with your kids, encouraging learning for that long, you know it's going to be a struggle. There are going to be some new discipline routines that you might have to come up with. And this is a great one. Designate a space specifically that you'll call the safe place. I know a lot of us might have time out, so we have that corner, but I really encourage you to maybe shift your vocabulary and call it a safe place. There's going to be a lot of big emotions. And like I said, security is something I'm wanting to build in my home. So we have a secure, safe place, which means if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling angry, whatever that big emotion is, you need a place to cool down before we are going to be able to have a reasonable conversation. You've all done this. They're upset. They're crying over their math facts. You're trying to argue with them and push. And sometimes we just need a break because they need to cool themselves down, get their brain back to a level where they can reason with you. And if they're having an outburst, they're not there yet. So I'll say, okay, you need to go to your safe place. You need to think about this. You need to breathe through it, and we're going to have a conversation in 2 minutes. Parents, sometimes you need your own safe place. My bathroom and my laundry room have been my safe places. If I need a break, I say I need a break. I go to my safe place, and yes, I do some breathing and cool down. Do it, guys. You need to give yourself some space, and your kids might need a safe place too to work those emotions out. Another one that I love is thinking about rhythms and routines. Sometimes we think this is a burden for kids, but through my 10 plus years of education from having a family, is you do not want to take that blessing away from your kids. Having rhythms and routines, especially during this time, can be such a fantastic way to create some boundaries, and then your kids begin to know what's expected of them. They have a timeline. I know for a lot of families, we forget what day it is. It feels like we wake up in our pajamas, we've lost our routine, we're going to bed later. Yeah, we need some space for that. But for kids, having a rhythm or a routine each day where they know what to expect is going to bring a lot of security to them. So think about their natural cycles. When do they have highs during their day? When do they have lows? When are they sleepy? When are they hungry? And start to work within those schedules. I know for a majority of your kids, their morning time is going to be their awake time. So that might be the time where you want to focus on some of those core learning times. For some of you, you're not going to have that option with what the schools are asking of you. But for the most part, I would say if you can get a significant amount of work done in the morning, the rest of the time, leaving that day and that afternoon open for rest and for more hands-on outdoors activities is going to make it easier on you, easier on them. Another thing to think about is that nowadays, especially during this time for kids, you need to start to think about the rhythm of less is going to be sometimes more. So making things and bringing them back to a simple level. Parents, I'm giving you permission to do this. I know this last week I needed permission just to do less. Really quality over quantity. Is it as effective for your child to be sitting in front of a computer for 6 hours doing, I don't know, countless assignments right now? Maybe not. Maybe just an hour of reading and writing and maybe some nature studies outside and having really deep conversations during that hour or two with your child is going to have a greater effect on their learning than just having a full day of rigorous worksheets. So really think as a parent, what is going to make the most difference for your child? Here are some must-have routines and rhythms that I would encourage you to see if you can add into your schedule. Over to the right, you're seeing one of our kiddos from Ignite Academy, and I love this list that they have at their home. It's this simple. It says things like learn and have fun, eat, learn some more, have a hug, get to go fishing afterwards. These are great little ways that you and your child can sit down and say, what's happening during our day? What are we looking forward to? When is the time that we really need to work hard so that we can play hard? So here's some things to consider and having in your schedule. A morning huddle time. What do you do first? Is everybody waking up and watching TV? Or maybe consider getting together and saying, okay, let's just read a quick Bible verse. Let's pray over our day. And what is something that each of you are looking forward to? Just making that 5-minute shift and starting your day off with intention could have a great effect for your family. Movement and exercise, make sure your kids are getting out that energy. Literally, I think my 5-year-old would just, I don't know, he's like a volcano. He would erupt if there wasn't some kind of exercise and movement. And we're doing the best we can in this home, as I'm sure you are. Celebration and fun. Have some spontaneity within your schedule. Plan little things that you guys can do together. Maybe it's a dance party. Again, kids like simple experiences. So if you say, hey, at 5 o'clock, we're having a 5-minute dance party, put on some loud music and run around. Be creative, guys. Also, go on Pinterest. There's some great ideas out there. Reading, I would say reading is the number one thing that you can do with your child. If for the next 3 months all you did was read 3 books a day, you would see significant growth in your child. Reading is so important during this time. Rest, make sure even your 12-year-old is having some time for rest where they can cool down, have some me time, go in their rooms. Maybe it means they draw, maybe it means they sleep, but make sure rest is a new rhythm in your life. And you time. This is hard, and I think it's really important right now. That whole analogy, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your child. The same thing during these times. I've seen so many moms, myself included, that are just exhausted with all of this, and make sure you have some you time where you're saying, you know what, this hour, I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to paint my toenails, or, I'm going to take a shower. Whatever you need to do, let your kids know that you're making yourself a priority as well. And this is where you communicate with your spouse. Say, hey, this day I'm needing some time. Next up, I know I showed you that schedule that we had for our one little kiddo. This is the one that I currently have in my refrigerator. Maybe you could screenshot that, blow it up if you like. I'm actually creating a PDF of a schedule where you guys can actually edit the PDF and make it your own. So look for that coming out soon. With this schedule, you'll see we have times, we're learning about the clock. I have things like lunch, and yes, we're doing chores. And these routines aren't super rigid, but you can't imagine how many times my kids are going up to the refrigerator just to look and say, hey, what time is it? It's again bringing that sense of security, and we're feeling accomplished during our day. Are there times to rip up that schedule and just have a different kind of day? Yes, give yourself permission to do that as well. I also wanted to translate into how you can help your kids learn well. For a lot of us, well, not myself, but for a lot of parents, we never went to school for any of this. We don't have a teaching background. And I wanted to give you some basic tips that every parent can do at home to increase learning for your child. On this page, you'll see something where it says the simple art of narration. One of the things you want to do is you want to make sure your child is understanding what they're hearing, seeing, or reading. So, whether they're watching a math lesson on the computer or whether they're reading a really good book, a quick way to check for comprehension is called a narration. Basically, what a narration is when a child repeats back to you in sequence what they just learned. It's kind of like a summarizing technique, more like a retelling. For our younger ones, a narration is usually going to be a verbal response where you say to your child, maybe they're 5 years old, tell me what we just read. And they should give you maybe 1 to 3 things in order of what they understood. And it's a quick way to say, okay, did they get what was important? And you can have a conversation around that. For older kids, like my 12-year-old, she can now read 4 pages of a history lesson and actually write a narration that's about 5 to 8 sentences in sequential order. This is not an easy technique, but the younger you start with this, the better. You don't have to have a quiz, you don't have to have questions. It's just a way that you can ask your child to repeat back in order what they just learned. Song. Song is going to help your kids learn well, believe it or not, especially that elementary age child. We put a lot of music on. You can find anything from the 7 continent song, like on ABC Mouse. You can find things on YouTube for math facts or Bible memorization, whatever it might be. If they're singing and learning through song, for a lot of kids, that's just another way to solidify that idea in their minds. So play music. This is one of my favorite ones. You'll see my little Atlas boy. He's out riding on my Honda Odyssey there. We got some expo markers from Amazon, and he's writing Ignite Academy, drawing his picture. But throw away that pen and paper or that pencil and paper and start having your kids engage in writing in fun ways. So give them some of those window markers, maybe the window in their room. They can write a message or write whatever their teacher is asking them to write. Writing in sand is a great one. Give them a stick. They can write whatever their math facts are, like out in the sand. Use food is a fun one. Now we don't have a lot of whipped cream at our house, but whipped cream is fun. Toothpaste. Change it up. The textures would be great for your kids. Whiteboards, sticky notes, Play-Doh. Be creative with their writing on, and that's going to help them stay engaged a little bit more. A couple more things. Reading. We talked about how important that is. One thing I want you guys to look into as parents is a lot of our kids are reading now, whether it's on a screen. So whether it's on their computer or Kindle or iPhone, whatever it might be, look into the effects of reading on screens. There's some articles coming out on that our comprehension is actually lowered when they looked at a high school group on reading on a screen instead of reading on the actual written word on a page. The other thing is considering blue light, especially if your kids are up late at night staring at screens. That blue light is going to affect them, whether it's their sleep patterns, hormones. There's a lot of things coming out. So when at all possible, which is hard during this time, read an actual good book, like the pages of a book. Along with that is reading real literature. Don't be afraid if something is past the reading level. If you as a parent are reading them something from a chapter book that's beyond their level, just them hearing you read really real rich literature is going to be so great for their little minds. 2 more on here for helping kids learn well. Offer challenges. I discovered this one about a year back at Ignite Academy. I'm the co-founder. Sometimes I'm in the classroom. I'm developing curriculum. But I also taught PE last year, which was a ton of fun. I love health and fitness. So I was out there one day. I don't know, I wasn't planning to do PE. It was a last minute lesson plan. I was like, all right, I'm going to create this challenge. So we called it the Serrano Relay Challenge. And it was one of the most fun days we've had at PE. It had things like, okay, you need to do 10 jumping jacks, run 2 laps, give 5 high fives, like all these crazy things. And by the time I said go, the kids were so excited. They worked through these challenges within like 10 minutes. It was fabulous. So offer some challenges at home. Make it fun for them. So you could have a goal maybe give them a bunch of materials. So if it's like science, you could give them a bunch of recyclable items and say, all right, your goal is to create a robot. You have 20 minutes. I'm going to set the timer. After the 20 minutes, I'm going to take a picture of your robot and I'm going to send it to your aunts and uncles. Just something simple where there's a time frame, they have materials, they have a goal, there's a celebration at the end, and kids love that kind of stuff. If you can even do it with their assignments, if it's a math assignment, just give them a time frame and a goal, and you'll see when you just change your vocabulary and make it a challenge rather than an assignment, that they'll become much more engaged. The last one, and this is something that's really important for our family when we have a 12-year-old to a 2-year-old, is we play school a lot. And I actually have my kids role play. So sometimes my kids are the teacher. So I'll say, okay, Atlas, you just learned maybe that the E at the end of the word makes the vowel long. So we're talking phonics. I'll say, can you go teach your sister what you just learned? Here's a whiteboard, here's a marker. And it's so sweet to watch those interactions. And you see that both kids actually learn the concept on a different level. So that's a really fun one if you're working with kids of different age levels right now. Now, I would say the number one thing that you can do as a parent to help your child learn well is to think about creating the right kind of tension. All of us have experienced battles over the past couple weeks, and I really want to help you choose your battles wisely. And I think this is really why I became a teacher, and this is part of the art of teaching, is creating the right kind of tension, not pushing your child too hard, but pushing them just the right amount. Before you engage in any kind of battle with your child, here are some things to think about. And this is more on the social emotional side. How old is your child? Are they doing something that is developmentally appropriate? Is your child hungry? Are they tired? Has there been some trauma in the past? Our oldest daughter, our 12-year-old, is actually adopted. She's been with us since the age of 7. And there's some things that have come up with remote learning with her being at home where she's having a freeze response to Zoom calls, to different assignments. And we're noticing it's going back to some things in her past where she's feeling some anxiety. Do they need to move? Are they bored? Are they anxious? Take some of these things into consideration before you're in a screaming match with your child. The thing with learning and creating the right kind of tension when it comes to what they're actually doing, performing, learning, is to make sure that it's just right. I know at our school we have just right books for a child. So what that means is they're reading at level. With just right books, that does not mean that they can read every word and understand every word in their book. It's actually the opposite. They can read most words and understand most words, but there should be a couple that they don't know and that challenge them. So when you guys are working through learning, making sure that there's always that little difficulty, that pinch of difficulty, that little bit of challenge that continues to push them. I would hate for your child for the next 3 months just to be bored out of their mind, to be, wasn't through all of their work or all of their learning and never be challenged. So look for things for your specific child. On the other hand, maybe it's too much for your child. I know with a lot of the online stuff, we are trying to create an assignment or an expectation for every child, but it might not work for your child. Maybe that's too much for them. Again, take permission as a parent that you can make those decisions and add some support, add some simplicity. Your child should not be crying and in tears over some of their schoolwork. So think about that. This page, I know I have a lot of text. This is why I want you to go ahead and screenshot this right now, or take a picture with your phone if you have that handy. These are going to be some academic supports that you can give your child if you're noticing that some things are just too challenging right now for them. These are some great things that I encourage you to try out. I'm not going to go through all of them, but a couple things to consider. When you're doing math, I know I have Khan Academy on there. They have some great videos, but also feel free to review and repeat something until they have mastery over it. A lot of times with math, we're pushing, and maybe they didn't understand that first concept, and now they're doing like 3-digit multiplication and they still can't do the single multiplication. So with math, it's really important that you build on those foundations. So for you, you might need to take a couple extra weeks of reviewing instead of speeding through it, and that's okay. With writing, one of my favorites is 2 things. One, on Amazon, they have some great handwriting paper. If you notice that your child, I know this is my 5-year-old or my 8-year-old, when she was writing really big on that handwriting paper, her handwriting wasn't that great. But when I transitioned her to smaller lines, it improved significantly. So there's a lot of, it's called OT for occupational therapy, handwriting paper out there to check out. There's even some with some boxes, and that can improve neatness and handwriting skills as well, along with pencil grips that encourage the tripod grip if your child is just starting to learn, all available on Amazon. For reading, we talked about narrating. That's huge. Even asking them to draw a simple picture as you're reading out loud. You can look at their picture when they're done and see, did they understand? Could they visualize what I was reading? Science and history. There's some fun things out there. Storybots on Netflix is a cute little one. Um, Also, if you have older children, especially high school, this would be a great time to check out something called Metacogs by Dr. Caroline Leaf. I just finished one of her books. It's a way of outlining or writing notes as you go. And she talks about this process where she actually trains people and teachers to teach these metacogs. It has great results for kids. So again, look up metacogs, Google that, and see if that's something that will work for your older children, more middle school, high school. And finally, to promote attention. Exercise is huge, moving is huge. I love to use timers. Now, think about your child, because some children this might cause anxiety. But for my kids that are starting to lose focus, if I simply have a little kitchen timer and say, all right, you have 5 minutes to finish it. Are you ready? Okay, go. It gives them a timeline where they have a start and a finish, and they seem to be engaged more when they know how much time that they have to complete it. Another cute one for celebrations to promote attention. There's something on, I think it's YouTube, called Go Noodle. Those are really fun little songs, really silly dances, and the kids love it. So if they finish their writing assignment, maybe you say, okay, you did an awesome job. Let's go ahead and go do a Go Noodle. It's something our art teacher uses, and it's just a really encouraging way to keep kids engaged. All right, so what's your next step? This is not meant to overwhelm you. You guys have enough on your plates. But why don't you try picking one thing that you'd like to try for next week? And I came up with a little list for you in case you want to pick one. Maybe it's that schedule. Maybe it's going on Amazon and ordering some pencil grips and some handwriting paper. Maybe it's taking some me time, creating that safe place, cutting screen time, or maybe you're just lost and you're like, but I had this special kid and I had this special circumstance. That last one on there, I said, schedule a 15-minute phone consult with me. I can definitely get you on my schedule next week. If that's something you're interested, I am going to post up my email in just a second for you to contact me. I know for a lot of you, as you consider all of these things and you're thinking, man, I've learned so much about education. I love being with my kids. Now it's even harder for me to think of them being gone for so long next year. It's really important that they're in the right environment. Maybe you're needing to make a switch. Ignite Academy is an elementary school that I help run that does a lot of the things that I just covered with you. And if you want to look into Ignite Academy more as a possible educational environment for your child, I encourage you to contact us as well. Right now, we are having virtual tours of our building. Since you guys can't come check us out, I'd love to take you for a virtual tour and see if maybe this is a great option as we go back into the more formal schooling next year. If you're wanting to try something different, please contact me. So we have our website on here. We have my email address where you can reach me. Guys, I hope this is encouraging for you, that this half hour helps you make some steps so that you're not losing your mind, that your kids are still learning, and that you feel really good about this experience. Again, 3 to 5 years, when you look back, that you created a safe, secure environment for your child, and yes, that they learned, they grew during this time. So thank you guys. I'd love for you to leave some comments for us and definitely stay connected. Have a great day, guys.